There now follows an election broadcast on behalf of the Conservative and Unionist Party.
Nationalisation? Cool, I'm dead against it. I won't have nationalisation at any price. I'd soon get out of it, if ever it come again. I think drivers are a bit worse off, I do. Definitely a bit worse off. They might just well join the ruddy army, don't they?
Well, there's no question about industry depending on road haulage. It must have an efficient haulage system to clear the product from the factory and to get it to the vessels in time. Difficulties have been experienced with delays in other forms of transport where vessels have sailed before the goods have got there. In our system, if we pick up goods in Nottingham this afternoon, they are delivered alongside tomorrow morning in any of the ports which we serve. If they centralise control at Whitehall and try to operate road haulage from there, from one central office, they will lose efficiency. They'll lose all personal touch with customers. They'll lose the expert knowledge of particular customers which smaller operators have. They'll gain nothing at all, in my opinion, by so doing. You see, it gets too big and unwieldy.
Free enterprise is by far, in my opinion, the better system, because it enables a person to be able to choose, and we're given the incentive to work.
In every town and village in Britain, private enterprise transport, the big lorries, the vans, are delivering the goods. Imagine the dislocation that nationalisation and controls would cause, and imagine too the effect upon the men who work in transport and on their families. As Minister of State at the Board of Trade, my responsibility is Britain's exports. We're making progress. Over the last 5 years, exports have increased by 25%, and they're up again this year. And over the last 12 months, I've visited 17 different countries, negotiating contracts for Britain: North America, South America, behind the Iron Curtain, Africa. And of one thing I'm absolutely certain, it's this: that nationalisation and controls and higher taxation will not add one pennyworth to Britain's exports. Indeed, they may even lose us orders. For we all know the truth. The world doesn't owe us a living. We have to take it by our competitiveness, by our inventiveness, by grasping every opportunity.
I believe it's very important to have a society where people can back their own hunch, where people can think of a bright idea, grow into an idea that benefits not only them but the community at large. We now employ over 400 people, and 23 out of 36 of our top executives have all come right up from the floor: operators, inspectors, progress men. They have shared in the success of the company.
My job is mainly concerned once we take them on, looking after them, welfare, first aid, and various things in general, lots of little things that could be neglected.
Everyone within this organisation feels that we are going places, not only by the product we turn out, the type of service we give, which we like to feel is the best, but because right heart.
Well, we started from a garage with a very limited capital in 1951, and we've now got a factory occupying 36,000 square feet, employing 160 people. I think we must be satisfying our customers, both in design and price. We're very conscious of the need to export, and in this direction we're very fortunate the fact that we mostly contract, about 90% of which is exported. But apart from that, we do export typewriter parts direct to Holland, which we hope to expand as we go along. Our main line of endeavour now is to create more engineers to take part in this highly skilled production. To this end, we run an extensive apprenticeship training scheme.
As a small company, we had a years ago, and to produce boys not only for ourselves but engineering in general. They serve a 6-month probationary period with us, and at the end of that time some stay with us. 3 lads, usually 3 lads, go to the Wadden Training Centre for their first year of apprenticeship.
Well, I think the door is wide open for anyone starting off on their own. So you get organisations as big as Nationalised Industry. It's almost a musical joke, the fact that they're not always all they should be. Therefore, if someone starts up on their own and gives personal attention and personal service to a job, then I think he's bound to get airborne.
There are 2 men who have seized their opportunities. Their firms have the right ideas, their companies are a success. By Labour politicians sitting in Whitehall. I believe that the British people want to have the opportunity to show their enterprise and initiative. They want the government to create the conditions in which they can do this. That is our policy. When we came into power in 1951, we dismantled socialism, and the result was a great upsurge of energy and enterprise in the British people. Roads in 1955, in railways in 1956, in technical colleges. These were the foundations. And then in this last Parliament, we have carried on further programs on a much wider basis, leading to the great expansion of the universities, the hospital building program, and so on, and the regional development programs, which are all coordinated. These programs are plan. It will back this up with further nationalisation and with government interference in industry. The Labour Party says it will go back to the purposive planning of 1945-51. The climax of purposive planning of 1945 to 51 was the devaluation of the pound, rocketing prices,
One of our most important programs is our program for extending education after school. Conservatives know that Britain needs more trained manpower at every level, scientists, engineers, and craftsmen and apprentices as well. And we also realize that there are many more young people all the time wanting to achieve advanced technology, which have been pioneers in advanced engineering studies, are to get university status. And we're also going to spend much more money on the technical colleges. The technical colleges which provide a certain amount of degree level work and advanced courses, but also large numbers of part-time courses, including part-time courses which while at school. And then we're also setting up a number of industrial training boards which will make it far easier for young workers in industry to get released during the day for a technical course. Now, our policy for extending education after school is linked to our policy for science and technology. We want to help industry to use the latest discoveries . We shall see the results of these policies more and more in all parts of the country. fine modern buildings like those we've just been looking at remind us just how rapidly methods of construction change. And that's why Conservatives attach such importance to training and retraining in industry, and also why we intend to bring in wage-related social security benefits so that people can change their jobs more easily. But in addition, surely, fine buildings are an important part of our society. When we go abroad, we all of us want to look at the new buildings overseas, and very many visitors from abroad have greatly admired some of our post-war buildings like our schools. And this takes me back to the Conservative theme in this election, prosperity with a purpose. We want to use increases in our national wealth wisely so as to build a more attractive society.
That will not be done by the methods proposed by the Labour Party. There is no other industrial free world which uses those methods today, not even those with socialist governments, and we must not go back to them. What we will do is this. We will get the national priorities right, putting our industry and our exports first. And these must meet the needs of the consumer. The Labour Party always thinks first of the producer, but if we are to hold our own in this modern world, we must meet the needs of the consumer. You, the housewife, the shopper, and the overseas buyer. And how shall we do it? We will do it in this way. First, through private enterprise. And if we encourage private enterprise, then we must see that it gets the rewards which it deserves. It's no use making demands of private enterprise and then sneering at the rewards which it gets. We want to see better management, and we are setting up the colleges to produce it. We want to see greater competition to make enterprise still more enterprising, and this we will secure through our further legislation on monopolies, mergers, and restrictive practices. We must see the re-equipment of industry, greater use of automation and new mechanical devices. We want to see the improvement of scientific development and the extension of education. We shall secure our expansion through our regional development programs. And above all, we must see a change in attitudes in this country towards industry and exports, the abandonment of restrictive practices. Of course, there is nothing easy about this. We have seen that already. This is a challenge from which the Labour Party, when confronted, has always retreated. The Beeching Plan, no, they will stop it. Resale price maintenance, they funked it. The South East Plan, they will cancel it. In every occasion in practice when they have been faced with modernization, the Labour Party has run away. This policy which I have put before you is two-pronged. It is to provide the means of expansion and to remove the obstacles to expansion. We now have the resources and the opportunity to break out of the circle of economic problems which has confronted us since the war, and with which the Labour Party is still obsessed. Our policy is not a cry for restraint. It is a call for expansion. Expansion to produce greater happiness and greater prosperity for the people of this country as a whole.
That was an election broadcast on behalf of the Conservative